today. We are going to be going live here in a few minutes with the lovely VB Lacey, who is the author of Long Live and Forever Rain. Forever Rain is going to be coming out soon. So we're super excited to talk to VB today because I just absolutely love these books. I arc read Forever Rain, and I was able to read just Long Live. Like I just came upon it. Just trying to connect with her now. So I am very, very excited. I do not actually have a physical copy because I ordered the special editions. So I'm super excited to get those, but that's okay. And I'll be getting those at Romantasy BookCon in October in Orlando. So it's going to be super awesome. If you guys don't know about that, definitely check it out. I believe it's Fabled Fantasy Events. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
All right. Perfect. So I was just kind of chatting a little bit about your books and some fun events that are coming up. So tell us a little bit about you, kind of about your books. Tell us a little bit about those.
So right now I just have the one book out. It's called Long Live, but the sequel comes out next month. It's an epic fantasy that has no spice romance. It has elemental magic and it's quest based. So it's just the main character ends up going on this quest, but she's joined by these four immortal beings who control the elements of nature and get into some trouble along the way.
And I was just saying that, both of these books actually earned 5 stars for me, which is really, really tough. So, I absolutely loved them. Absolutely loved both of them. I'm really honored that I got to arc read Forever Rain. So, let's just jump right into it. So tell us a little bit about what kind of made you want to be an author and what your path to publication was.
My mom told me that I have wanted to be an author since I was 6. I'm not sure I remember that, but I do remember growing up and wanting to write. I wrote a book in 4th grade that my mom still has, I think. And so I've always wanted to write, but then I think high school and college kind of made me think that that wasn't a very viable option. I needed to find something that was more career oriented. So I kind of gave up on that. Until I joined Bookstagram in 2021 and I saw independent publishing was a thing and how prevalent it was. And that's what made me decide, I think I can do this. I mean, so many amazing authors are doing this while working a full-time job, while running a household. And so I decided I was going to try. And I made a lot of connections really early on with some great authors who helped me figure out how to do this. So my path was definitely paved by indie authors who came before me.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely something that I kind of found when I joined Book Talk. I didn't even know what an indie author was. I didn't, honestly. I mean, I think I had like one pair of authors, Kristen Becker Ritchie, like back, they self-published the Addicted series, and like that's like the only like self-published I even knew. So I think it's really great that it's something that is coming out, more so like you don't have to go that traditional route. You can do it on your own terms and do it how you like it.
Exactly. I never even thought about traditionally publishing just because, I mean, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, both paths are good options for as long as they are meeting your goals. And I wanted to just publish. I didn't want to wait and have to go through the querying process and all that. And so I'm happy I went with independent.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your writing process. So do you plot? Do you plan? Do you quilt? What do you do? How do you write a book?
Um, it, I'm still learning and it's still changing. I'm on my 3rd book now and I'm almost done with it. And it's looked different every single time. Like my first book, Long Live, I didn't know what I was doing, honestly. I pantsed the heck out of that, which, if anybody doesn't know what pantser versus plotter means, pantsing is you fly by the seat of your pants. So I had like a final scene in my head, the final scene in Long Live that played out in my head like a movie. So I knew that's where I needed to get. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to get there. And so I did a lot of learning about my characters before I even started writing. I kind of knew who the characters were, and that helped me write the scenes. It helped me figure out, okay, where would this person be? What would this person be doing? What would their reaction be? How would they play off of this event? That sort of thing. But I just flew by the seat of my pants. I was like, oh, what am I going to write today? Let's see. Well, they're in a cave. All right, what can we do in a cave? Like, it was chaotic. And then with the sequel, I had to be a little bit more structured because it's the end of the duology. So I had to wrap it up. I had to make sure they had character arcs and developments that made sense. So I did a lot more planning in that one. But still, there were times when I literally didn't know what I was going to write next. But with my third book, the one I'm working on right now, I've plotted it out chapter by chapter pretty carefully because I realized that I just need to have the structure to be able to stay motivated.
Mhm. And I think that is about evolving, right? Like, I mean, when you first start, maybe it's, not where you end up. I mean, even with the book, so it's kind of like um representative of the book, like sometimes you don't know where you're going to end up. Like, where you want the series to end, but you have to get there, right? Or something like that. So tell us what you enjoy most about writing in the fantasy genre.
I really enjoy writing magic just because it's not something we have in daily life. And I especially loved writing elemental magic just because that's what got me into wanting to write this story in the first place, was the idea of how would the elements of nature be personified? Like, if fire was a person, what would they act like? How would they use their magic? What would that look like? So I was really excited to write that, and that was a lot of fun. And really giving the magic a personality, which I could do a lot with elements because, even in nature, they are so, like, they do have such vivid personalities, like, even in our world. And then with my next book, with the one I'm writing now, it has 6 different kinds of magic. Each province has a different kind of magic that they're born with. And I've never talked about this before, actually.
I'm excited.
So, but that's been fun to write because I get to explore like so many different types of magic and make them all unique. So that's I think what I like the most about writing fantasy.
And I think that, that's probably like what drew me in, like, initially to Long Live, was I was like, oh, like, it's the elements, and the elements, like you said, personified. Like, I thought that was so cool. Like, I think it's similar to like Greek mythology, right? Like, they had to explain why things are the way that they are. When we have like these core elements, that what would that be like? And I think you did a really, really cool job of kind of working them all together. So, and I'm so excited to hear about the next book. So, what do you need in your writing space to stay focused? What helps you stay focused and on task when you're writing?
I am very undisciplined and I have no self-control. So like I should put my phone away, but I don't because I have no discipline. And so like I'll write 500 words and I'm like, I deserve a break. And so then I got on social media for like 30 minutes and I'm like, I could have written another 500 words. What am I doing? So I should keep my phone away from me, but I don't. I don't really need much to stay. I can write in silence. I can write with music. I can write with a TV show or a movie on in the background. Like, I'm pretty go with the flow.
Awesome. Very cool. I know we're getting a lot of fun comments, a lot of likes, and a lot of gifts. Thank you guys so much. It looks like, so I've heard about this coven thing because I talked to Nicole Platania, or
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I said her name wrong. I know she told me how to say it last time. So what is this? What's this author coven thing?
It's just a group of authors who we found each other several months ago, and we have a really solid group of readers who hype us up a lot, and it's just a lot of fun in this community, like getting to know everybody and sharing the space with some other amazing indie authors. And so we've just become really close friends.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I think supporting each other, right? So LV is the second author that I did this live with. And so, I think it's so awesome to see everybody supporting each other. And I've kind of talked to her and I become friends with her and talk with her like about lots of different stuff, but like trading chapters and supporting each other and and helping each other out with promotion, because obviously being an indie author, right, like that's all on you, like you have to do all that. So that's really great that you guys were able to kind of find that, and it feels like not like a competition. It feels like just like a you know I think that I've read a lot of all of your books because she named a bunch, and or I read some after she recommended them. So when you do your recommendations, when I ask you at the end, I'm gonna write some down because I'm going on vacation and I need a lot of books to read.
Yeah.
And so what's your kryptonite as a writer? What gets in your way?
I think besides the fact that I have no discipline and no self-control, my phone is a kryptonite because of that. But writing wise, like specific things that I might be writing, filler scenes really get me. I think it's really easy to write the big moments, whether that's action, whether it's romance, whether it's some sort of plot twist you've been planning for months. But the filler moments, getting from point A to point B, those trip me up sometimes. And making sure that they flow and that they're paced well, but they also make sense and add value to the story. Those really get me. And that will typically be when I go the longest without writing. When I know I'm at one of those scenes, I put it off for as long as I can because I just don't want to write it.
It's not the most fun thing. Like you want to write like the action. You want to write like the big things. Writing the, little. I mean, I think even I call books filler books sometimes, and I don't want people to hate me, but I felt like Iron Flame was a little bit of a filler book, just a little bit in some ways, but it's like, but you need that to get to the point, right? So it's like, it's all important, like, perfect. So let's move on to the next part. So I know that we kind of talked in the beginning about describing your book in a sentence, but we'll just talk about Long Live. So how would you describe Long Live in that one sentence? What's your elevator pitch?
Okay, this was so hard for me. And I think
Hard.
the reason this was difficult is because I have five and then eventually six point of views. And so it's like, which story? Because they're all important to me and they're all main characters to me and they all have this storyline. Like I could describe each one in 10 words or less, separately. But I ended up just saying fantasy with elemental magic about overcoming pasts and uncovering truths. Very vague, but it encompasses the whole duology.
Yeah, I mean, very accurate. This is everybody's least favorite question because it's basically like asking you to choose one of your children. But who is your favorite character to write, and why was that person your favorite?
So my absolute favorite character to write is kind of a spoiler for Long Live. So, but you can probably guess who that is. So my second favorite non-spoiler character to write is Aiden, and I think that's because I I have a very similar personality to him, especially his humor. Like he got my humor. I think they all got different pieces of me. Like I got my anxiety because I'm a very anxious person. Um, but Aiden got my humor. Like he would 100% be a that's what she said kind of guy. Like if this was modern day. Um, and I love his personality, but he also hides a lot of his insecurities and his fears with this mask of humor. And I probably do the same thing. I do the same thing. So he was my second favorite character to write.
Well, that's actually kind of cool that you say like you put like a piece of yourself in all of them. So it's like then you look at them as a whole and you're like, oh, like, look how that kind of comes together. Um, what was the most challenging part of writing Long Live?
Oh, of writing Long Live? The fact that it was my first book, um, it made it more difficult because I wasn't sure. I don't know if the actual writing of it was as difficult as like the mentality behind it and the idea of nobody's going to read this, everybody's going to hate this, why am I doing this? Like it's juvenile, it's immature, all these different fears that the imposter syndrome brings on. So I don't remember struggling a ton with the actual writing aspect because I just really loved these characters and it's a very character driven story and I had a lot of fun with that. But the emotions behind it and the idea of like, why am I doing this? This isn't going anywhere. Everybody's going to hate this. That was what made it more difficult. But with Forever Rain, I struggled with a lot of the writing aspect because I knew it was the end and I knew that I was going to have to wrap it up and it had to be cohesive and I wanted everybody to have a happy ending in their own way, whatever that might mean. And doing it in two books is difficult, I think. I mean, and I'm writing a standalone now, so I don't know why I'm doing that, but knowing that it had to end, that it had to wrap up well, and then the emotions behind that because I miss them so much. And so that was hard. Like, I think I prolonged finishing it because I did not want to write the end.
Mhm. Well, I think that makes sense in both of those things, right? Like it's like you get imposter syndrome times too. Like one's like writing your first book and being like, "Oh my God, is anybody gonna like it?" And then you have a bunch of people like it, and then you're like, "Oh crap, like I need to make sure that like I make this like make sense and like people are gonna like the ending just as much as they like the beginning."
Yes, and I wanted to do it justice, and I was just, I don't know, I feel like I hear a lot of people complain that endings might not be as satisfactory as they want them to be. I just wanted to do it justice, and I wanted everybody to love where I went with it. So, yeah, it was hard.
Well, I think that that's also very great of you to share because I think that, anybody who's watching who, as well as myself, who's an aspiring author, it's just like, it's nerve-wracking to have those things, but also, what is it? It's not empathic. It's validating to know, that other people, like, you have a published book, like, and you're about to get your second one published, like, you feel that way too. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
definitely reassuring.
It's bad. And we all go through it. Like
You
the
do.
mental side of it is everybody struggles with it. So,
What is your favorite line and or part from the book? Because I know sometimes lines are hard because you write so many.
well, I actually did because like,
You.
you told me what questions and I went through and I like did a little write up so that I wouldn't forget. I did actually write down specific lines. I could do scenes as well, but with Long Live, it's not one that I think a lot of people talk about because I can see the highlights on the on Kindle and I when I get tagged in things a lot of times people will put their favorite quotes and I don't think I've ever seen this one, but it was Kai and Aiden, and it was Kai's POV and she was thinking this story was nothing new. She knew he loved her irrevocably, the way the tide loves the shore, the way fire craves the air. Love had never been their problem. That was probably one of my favorite lines I wrote in Long Live. Um, just between the two of them, like I just love them so much. And then in Forever Rain, this is also not one I have marketed with. And you've finished Forever Rain, right?
Yeah.
So you might remember where this one was from. But it is a huge part of a specific character's character arc. And it's his point of view. He says, there was strength in leaning on others, there was courage in falling to one's knees, and there was power in humility. And I love that too, just because of his character arc.
And I think both of those are beautiful. I think, the first one, I don't know, I feel like it just like speaks to relationships, right? Like you can have this person that like you're fated to be with or that you just really connect with, but like that's not the problem,
Yeah.
Like that's not the concern. So I think that's beautiful. And then the second one, like you said, character. I love when character arcs come full circle and they actually make sense, and you're like satisfied with that rather than just being like, oh, well, that's how that went, I didn't feel that way with that, so that's good. Um, let's see. And so sometimes when authors write, they think about how their characters would look or something such as that. So if you had to fan cast any of your main characters, do you have anybody in mind?
So this is hard for me typically because when I write and even when I read, I can't visualize things. Like my head, I just see words. I really struggle to see images unless I have something pulled up in front of me. So like whenever I'm describing one of my a setting or a person or some landscape, whatever, in one of my books, I have to have like a picture from Pinterest or something pulled up side by side, and I just describe it very in depth because to me, I need that to be able to see it. So when I'm describing my characters, I'm not picturing them whenever I'm writing them. Um, but I have looked up characters who fit these qualities so that I can kind of see. Isla, I really imagine Catherine McNamara, she was Clary in the Mortal Instrument, or what did they call it? The Shadowhunter series.
Yeah.
I picture her. Jade was actually one of the first ones that I ever had like a person that I found on Pinterest. And I think she's actually a model. She's not an actress, but Ashley Graham. I don't, like I said, I don't think she's an actress, but she is just Jade to me. There's nobody else who I can ever picture. And the others, I haven't, it's like I said, it's hard for me to picture them. I've asked my street team before, and they have said Rin would be kind of like Ben Barnes meets Orlando Bloom. And Kai, I really imagine kind of like Blake Lively, but not exactly. There's probably somebody out there who fits it. Mm-hmm. And then Aiden, several of my street team members thought that Michael B. Jordan might fit him. But I'm not like 100% set on any of them except for Jade.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. And I think, who was I talking with? I can't remember. I was talking with another author. We were talking about plus size representation and how important that is. So I like that you said it. I think we're thinking of the same Ashley Graham, like the swimsuit model. Okay, yes. And how important that is. So I'm really glad that that's someone that you would visualize like in your story, because I think we need more of that. We need more of that. All right, so let's get on to the last section of our interview tonight, and it's going to be some fun stuff. So other than writing and reading, because I know you're probably going to say reading, what are some things that you like to do?
It made me realize how much of a like one-tracked homebody I am when this question came up. I'm very extroverted, but so a lot of what I do is out with people, but it's not like one specific thing. It's just like we go over to friends' houses a lot around here, and we'll just watch a movie, or we'll cook dinner together, or we'll play games or something. Board games are probably my next biggest hobby next to reading and writing. But in general, I enjoy hanging out with friends, whether that's like eating together or playing games or watching a movie, watching football, whatever.
Cool. Cool. All right, let me get out my notepad for this one. So what are some books or authors that you would recommend to myself or our viewers?
Well, you've already read The Curse of Ophelia.
Yep.
I don't know if you've read Shards or Trials yet, but this is by Nicole Platania. So Trials comes out tomorrow, so that's her third book, and I've read it. It's amazing. I love her whole series. Another book that comes out this week on Thursday is Illuminance by Kara Douglas. So the first one is Lunaria. Have you read that one, or do you just know about it? Okay. Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole is another great one. I'm trying to convince her to let me read Burn early, the fourth one. I don't think she's going to. She might. If I bug her enough. Threaded by Tay Rose.
Loved it.
Her second one comes out in, I believe, September. The Dagger and the Forbidden Air by Amelia J. The second one comes out next week. What'd you say?
The 26th.
Yeah, next week. We have a lot of upcoming releases. Blood and Steel by Helen Scher. Love that series. I've read Blood and Steel, and then I've read the prequel, which is Slaying the Shadow Prince. And I need to read Vows and Ruins and Fate and Fury soon. The Lost God by Sheila Masterson. The third book in that series came out last week. So lots of releases. I love anything by Miranda Lynn. I don't know if you've read The Unmarked Witch.
I have her on my list, actually, because I saw Till Death, and then I looked up other books that she's already wrote.
Yes, yeah. Unmarked Witch is it was one of my favorite books of last year. Vanessa Rasinin is another one that I love. Claire Sager, who is going to be at a Polycon next month, and I'm so excited to meet her. I love her. And then Cursive Broadbent is my all-time favorite author. I am obsessed with her, and she's also going to be at a Polycon, and I'm probably just going to pass out.
That's so exciting. I definitely need to make it to that because I mean I live on the East Coast, so I mean it would be doable for me to get there. I'm going to Reminisce BookCon. I was saying in the beginning before you logged on, so obviously I'll see you there and a lot of these other lovely people. And so I feel really good that I've read like almost everybody that you named. So I feel like I'm good with the indie author, the
Oh,
brand.
well, that's just a few. There are so many more. I didn't want to keep you that long, but Jenny Hickman. If you've never read anything by Jenny Hickman, read
I
her.
have Pierce Kiss. Is that?
Yes.
Yes, I have that on my list. Oh, amazing. I love that. Um, and so, we kind of talked a little bit about just that imposter syndrome piece, and then that's something that can kind of get in the way when you're writing. But is there anything else that you would say to a younger you or to an aspiring author that's trying to write their first book?
So I say this a lot to aspiring authors, which also, first of all, the fact that I feel like I do not have the
Right.
authority to say any of it. Like, I'm not, I don't know. It's one of those where I still feel like I'm such a newbie. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have learned. I'm learning, but I also surprise myself with the things that I have got under my belt. So I'm going to try to give myself credit. Um, I say network early and network authentically because networking is really what helped me get my foot in the door. Having a good community of indie authors around you, even like well before you're actively trying to start publishing, I think is really important. They helped me. They would answer questions, but more than that, we supported each other. Like we would encourage each other. We were there when we needed to complain, which is a huge, like, I am a big believer that indie authors should not be publicly complaining about everything. I think there are days I know when you might just say like, this has been a bad day, guys. And I think that's fine. But when I see the active complaining, constantly complaining about your readers, complaining about your colleagues, things like that, you need a safe space to do that. And I don't think that's online, like in the public eye. So having that network that you can do that with is super important. But I have also seen aspiring authors approach networking with an attitude of like, what can I get out of this? And I think that is very dangerous too, because it's a give and take relationship. It's not just what can you give to me kind of thing. So that's why I say network early and authentically, because you definitely don't want to become that person that's just, if somebody gets a DM from you, they know you're just asking for something and you're not trying to support them or give them anything in return. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
And I think that you have a big point there because I think it's difficult, like you said, to be in this indie space as well because um you don't necessarily have like that huge fan base like someone like Sarah J. Maas has, right? Like, that's a massive, massive fan base, and there's just so much stuff like always going on, like even like in between like those readers and things like that. But being authentic, I think, is so important. I mean, that's something that's really important to me. I never kind of want to feel like fake in a way. 'Cause, I mean, I don't think I could actually do that because it would just feel inauthentic to me. But being able to like have those connections and not try to pretend to be someone that you're not, and I think indie authors that I've spoken to so far, when you guys say that you put part of yourself in your characters, that just means that's authenticity to me, and that's so important to me because we want obviously to not just like get to know your characters, but we want to get to know you. That's why I do these interviews, and that's why I ask fun questions because we want to get to know you. We want to know what makes you tick, what makes you happy. So I think that that's always important, and just to see like I said, the different kinds of representation and people being vulnerable and like healing through their writing. Like that's something that I definitely seen and heard. So I really, really appreciate that you said that and trying to be authentic and be who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you said that you listen to music while you write, you watch movies, TV shows. So you're pretty good with that, which good for you because I have ADHD, so I could not do that. But tell us a little bit about what kind of music you listen to when you write. Is there anything specific that you go to that makes you think of your books here, or anything in particular that you have come to mind?
I have playlists that I put together for the Elementals duology, and now for my next project, I have playlists that if I'm ever listening to a song, like in the car or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that I feel like that could go here, I'll add it. But I found I didn't really end up listening to them that often. I would sometimes. I listened to a lot of Taylor Swift during when I was drafting the duology. Um, but I find that I actually like to write to like TV shows or movies. I don't know, maybe I just need like the vibe of like I'll put on Vampire Diaries or something, or like Lord of the Rings, put that on the background. And I don't know, I think I just enjoy that more than music. I think music distracts me more actually because I end up getting into like the song, but I don't get into the TV show as much. So I don't know, I'm weird.
No, no. I interviewed Trish GW and she said that whenever she like can't get through something or just like needs like a spark, she'll watch the Gerard Butler Phantom of the Opera. And that'll kind of just like clear her mind and that works for her. So hey, like that's totally fair. Um, have you traveled anywhere as kind of like research for, these books or anywhere in particular in the world that kind of makes you think of the world that you've created?
I haven't traveled specifically for the purpose of researching, but I took a Mediterranean cruise last summer with my husband and my mom. And it was about 2 months before Long Live's release. And so Long Live was finished, but Forever Rain wasn't, so I was still drafting Forever Rain. And I found that the Greek Isles really reminded me of Iona and some of these other areas of the kingdoms that I wrote. And so I played off that a little bit when I was drafting Forever Rain. Um, just the idea of like the islands, like having smaller subsets of islands that aren't inhabited but are just kind of like surrounding the mainland and things like that. So I found that the Greek Isles really hit what I had in my mind of these kingdoms. So that was cool to see.
That's what I pictured. So I'm glad you said that because that's definitely what I saw like when I was, reading the end of Long Live and I was like, yep, like that's what I could see. I see that. So we talked a little bit about it, about like a Polycon, a Romantasy Book Con, but just to kind of do a recap, any upcoming events, signings, anything going on for you?
So my first one is Imaginarium, which is in Washington, D.C. I'm going to be there. It's June 7th through 8th. So that's my first signing ever. So I'm excited. I am going to a Polycon, but just as a reader. I went last year and it was so much fun. So I'm excited. But my first actual signing author event is Imaginarium. And then I'm also going to be at UtopiaCon, which is in Nashville. And it's only 2 weeks after that. So I'm really in for a fun April through June right now.
Yeah.
And then Romantasy BookCon in Orlando in October and LA in February. So I've got like
Awesome.
a whole year planned.
That must be so exciting. Like not just the fact that you published two books, but the fact that like you're being invited to like these things and like you're gonna sign your books for people. Like people are gonna be like, oh my God, like Aiden was my favorite character or something like that. Like that's so cool. It must be
I'm
awesome.
excited. I definitely have a little bit of anxiety of like, oh, nobody's gonna come to my table, how everybody feels. So we'll
No,
see.
totally. No, absolutely. Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. It was so, so wonderful. I know that you're like, I don't want to like brag, but like whenever I interview, like you guys say yes to letting me talk to you for like any amount of time, I just feel like starstruck because I'm like, oh my God, like this person like wrote this book and like I love it and like they're talking to me. Like it feels just amazing for me. So I hope it feels as amazing for you.
Oh yeah.
But I thank you for writing your books. Obviously, I'm going to keep reading whatever you put out there. But thank you for taking the time today too to talk with me and and talk with our viewers here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. Have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Thanks.